The morning mist still clung to the plains of late Cretaceous North America. The sun rose slowly, casting golden light over cracked soil and sparse vegetation. A low wind whispered across the open valley, carrying with it the scent of dust decay and something far more dangerous. Suddenly, the silence shattered. A deafening bellow tore through the calm. Birds scattered. Small creatures froze or fled. From the brush, a massive form lunged forward, muscles rippling, jaws open, teeth flashing in the light. Tyrannosaurus rex, the apex predator of its age. And it had locked eyes on its next challenge. Ahead, standing its ground, was a mountain of muscle and bone, Triceratops horridus. 3 horns curved from its skull like spears, and a thick, bony frill shielded its neck like a fortress wall. It didn't flee. It didn't flinch. Instead, it lowered its head and scraped the earth with a massive hoof dust kicking up around its frame. This wasn't a chase. This was a confrontation. T-Rex paused, sizing up its opponent. Unlike the usual prey, duckbills, juveniles scavenged kills, this one was ready for a fight. Triceratops weighed up to 12 tons and stood nearly 10 feet tall at the shoulder. It had fought before, it had survived, and today it would not die quietly, but the tyrant had not ruled by accident. Rex advanced slowly, step by step. Each movement was calculated. Its massive head swayed from side to side, its keen eyes locked onto weak points, joints, exposed ribs, any opening it could exploit. Its sense of smell confirmed what it already knew. This Triceratops was alone, isolated, vulnerable, and yet still dangerous. The standoff intensified. Triceratops snorted, flaring its nostrils, steam rising in the cool air. It rotated its massive head, slightly adjusting its stance. The frill, more than a meter wide, shimmered with battle scars. One horn chipped, a healed slash on the flank. This wasn't its first war. T-Rex knew the risks. A single misstep could be fatal. Those horns weren't for show. They could pierce deep into flesh, even crush bone. Paleontologists today have found T-Rex fossils with puncture wounds matching the spacing of Triceratops' horns, evidence that these battles weren't hypothetical. They happened again and again. Now here, in this imagined moment, one was about to unfold. The predator crept closer. The herbivore held its ground. Dust swirled. A crow-sized pterosaur screeched overhead. Every muscle in both titans coiled with tension. And then T-Rex lunged. Its jaws opened wide, aiming for the Triceratops' side, but the horned dinosaur pivoted, slamming its shoulder forward. One horn sliced through the air, missing the tyrant's skull by inches. T-Rex veered off, narrowly avoiding impalement. The crowd of smaller animals scattered. The valley echoed with roars. But this wasn't over. The king turned sharply, mud flying from its heels, and lunged again, this time lower, aiming for the legs. Triceratops reacted with lightning speed for a creature its size. It spun, and its frill absorbed the impact of T-Rex's bite. The sound of teeth scraping bone rang out, followed by a guttural cry from the predator. Triceratops shoved forward, using its body weight to push the tyrant back. T-Rex stumbled, but didn't fall. It released, then snapped again, this time catching flesh along the herbivore's flank. Blood sprayed red against the golden grass. Triceratops bellowed and retaliated its horn, catching T-Rex on the lower jaw, gashing skin, but missing anything vital. The two giants backed away, panting, eyes locked. Each had landed a blow. Each had taken one. Neither was finished. They began to circle each other slower now, more cautious. The initial fury gave way to strategy. T-Rex lowered its head slightly, feinting left. Triceratops shifted, guarding its right. The predator feinted again, testing, watching. looking for that one mistake. But the horned behemoth had not survived this long by being careless. Both paused, as if understanding that the next move might be the last. And, in that pause, the sun broke fully over the horizon, casting long shadows behind the two dinosaurs. It illuminated blood on scales, mud on hooves, and the glint of survival in ancient eyes. This was not just a fight. It was a moment frozen in deep time, a clash of instincts, weapons, and will. The wind picked up slightly rustling tall ferns at the edge of the clearing. Raindrops began to dot the surface of the nearby stream, small cold taps against the heated tension of the scene. Neither predator nor prey moved. They stood like ancient statues, frozen by strategy, not hesitation. Spinosaurus might have ruled the rivers. Raptors may have hunted in packs. But here, on this flat, open battlefield, it was brute against brute, instinct against instinct. Triceratops took a step forward, not a charge, but a deliberate motion. It swung its head side to side, horns gleaming in the rising light. It wasn't a challenge, it was a warning. T-Rex's nostrils flared. It exhaled sharply, as if considering its next decision. The last exchange had drawn blood from both sides. It knew a direct assault might end it, but not without cost. And, for a predator that relied on conserving energy for survival, cost meant risk. The standoff stretched into moments that felt like hours. The silence returned heavy as the weight of history, and then both shifted ever so slightly, circling once more, because this wasn't just about food. It wasn't just about defense. This was a matter of dominance, and the next move could change everything. To understand how this battle could unfold, we must first look at the weapons each dinosaur brought to the fight, not just bone and muscle, but the strategies built into their very bodies by millions of years of evolution. Tyrannosaurus rex was not just powerful. It was precision-engineered for killing. Its skull alone measured over 5 feet long, filled with banana-shaped teeth that could grow over 12 inches. Unlike the slicing teeth of some theropods, T-Rexes were built for crushing. Serrated thick and deeply rooted, each bite could pulverize bone-snap tendons and end fights in seconds. In fact, no land animal before or since has had a stronger bite. Estimates suggest it could exert more than 6 tons of pressure per square inch, enough to crush a car if cars had existed. Its massive legs provided both speed and stability. Though it wasn't a sprinter like some smaller predators, it could move fast enough to close short distances quickly, especially with the element of surprise. And though its arms were famously small, they were still muscular, capable of lifting over 400 pounds each. But in this fight, they wouldn't matter. This was a battle decided by jaws and positioning. Now turn to Triceratops, a herbivore, yes, but far from defenseless. Its head alone could reach over 7 feet in length, dominated by a frill and 3 lethal horns. The 2 brow horns could grow over 3 feet long, thicker than a baseball bat, and sharp as a spear. Its nasal horn was shorter, but still formidable. Combined with immense neck muscles and a low center of gravity, Triceratops could transform into a living battering ram. And its frill wasn't just for display. Though debates exist about whether it was mainly for thermal regulation species, recognition, or mating rituals, one thing is clear: it provided protection. Fossil evidence shows puncture wounds and healing proof that frills endured combat. In a head-on clash, that bony shield could absorb, deflect, or resist direct attacks from even the mightiest jaws. Size-wise, both creatures were evenly matched. T-Rex stretched about 40 feet long and weighed up to 9 tons. Triceratops wasn't far behind, up to 30 feet long and weighing 6 to 12 tons. But their builds were different. T-Rex was a towering predator with vertical reach. Triceratops was a low squat tank with devastating horizontal range. The key difference was approach. T-Rex hunted with ambush and aggression. Its strategy was to bite deep, then wait. Blood loss, trauma, broken bones, its prey usually didn't last long. Against slower or smaller targets, this worked flawlessly. But Triceratops wasn't built to flee. Its strategy was stand and fight. When threatened, it didn't back down. It faced danger head-on, lowering its skull, presenting its horns, and bracing for impact. It relied on timing and muscle memory, waiting for the perfect moment to charge or counter. The terrain played a role too. Open plains favored T-Rex. It could maneuver circle strike from the side or rear, but in uneven or muddy ground, Triceratops had the advantage. Its low body and wide stance made it harder to knock over or outflank. In a confined or cluttered area, its turning radius might be limited, but so was T-Rex's attack range. Their senses were another factor. T-Rex had excellent binocular vision, giving it depth perception. Its olfactory bulbs were huge. It could detect the scent of prey or blood from miles away. Triceratops likely had decent vision as well, but it relied more on proximity awareness and herd instinct. In this imagined one-on-one, however, the herd was gone. There was no backup, just two giants facing off in a moment of evolutionary tension. The opening blows in Part 1 had revealed the stakes. T-Rex's bite had drawn blood. Triceratops's horn had scraped jaw. Both had tested the other. Now they circled each, calculating the next move. T-Rex considered its options. A frontal assault risked impalement. A flank approach required perfect timing. A retreat wasn't an option, not yet. It needed to end this quickly. Triceratops held its ground. Its breathing was steady. The wound on its side bled slowly, but hadn't hit anything vital. It kept its head low, ready to lunge, waiting for a mistake. Because in battles like this, one moment of hesitation could end it. The balance of power shifted with each step. Every stomp reshaped the terrain. Every breath fogged the morning air. The predators of the past had come prepared. But preparation was no guarantee of victory. This wasn't a duel of equals. It was a duel of opposites. Rain began to fall, light at first, then steadier. Drops rolled down the armored frill of Triceratops, streaking across dried blood and mud. T-Rex blinked through the water, its hide darkening with moisture. The battlefield was turning slick, the earth softer underfoot. Each movement now carried more weight, both physical and strategic. A slip could expose the neck. A stumble could cost balance. Both creatures adjusted. T-Rex shifted to the left, trying to bait a reaction. Triceratops didn't flinch. Instead, it angled its horns slightly, signaling readiness. This was a mental game as much as a physical one. The predator's breathing slowed. It had seen this posture before. Triceratops was about to charge. Muscles tightened. The moment drew close. Both animals leaned forward slightly, tense, silent. And then, the storm gathering and the ground trembling beneath their weight, the clash began. What followed would not be clean. It would not be elegant. It would be survival in its rawest form. The next roar would echo through time, and the next blow would begin the end. The storm rolled overhead, cloaking the sky in dark clouds as thunder rumbled in the distance. Raindrops fell harder now, soaking the earth and turning dust to mud. The once dry plain became a treacherous battleground, slick, unstable, and unpredictable. But neither of the giants seemed to care. Rex took the first step forward. The muscles in its legs flexed with power as it closed the distance. Its jaws open teeth glistening in the rain. Its earlier hesitation had vanished. Now it was fully committed. Triceratops responded instantly. With a roar that shook the ground, it charged horns down eyes focused. Each step carved deep trenches into the wet soil. It didn't just defend it, attacked with fury. The two collided with a thunderous crash. Rex twisted mid-lunge, trying to bite down on the frill. But Triceratops' massive horns caught its chest and shoulder, slamming into bone and muscle. The predator was thrown sideways, its feet sliding in the mud. It roared in rage and pain, struggling to stay upright. But it didn't retreat. It spun with terrifying speed, jaws snapping toward Triceratops's flank. This time, it connected. Teeth sank into thick skin, tearing through muscle. Triceratops bellowed and swung its head, slamming the frill into T-Rex's skull. The impact cracked like thunder, dazing the predator just long enough for Triceratops to break free. Blood hit the ground in thick drops, mingling with rain and earth. Both dinosaurs backed away, breathing heavily wounded, but far from finished. T-Rex's left arm hung limp, crushed in the fray. One of its ribs was cracked, pain pulsing through its side. But its bite had weakened Triceratops' left leg. The herbivore favored it, now limping slightly as it moved. The balance had shifted again. They circled slower now. This was no longer a test of strength. It was endurance. T-Rex tried another charge. Not a headlong sprint, but a sharp, calculated lunge. It aimed low, hoping to topple Triceratops completely. But the horned titan pivoted, using its powerful tail for balance, and drove forward once more. Its horn scraped across T-Rex's neck, missing the jugular by inches. Mud flew. Roars echoed. The battlefield shrank. The air thickened with steam blood and the sheer force of will. Both giants were bleeding from multiple wounds. Each movement was slower, heavier. Their eyes stayed locked not with hatred, but with understanding. This was not just a fight. It was survival, and neither could afford to lose. T-Rex gathered the last of its strength and lunged one final time. It opened its jaws wide, targeting the throat. Triceratops didn't flinch. Instead, it charged forward at the same moment, lowering its head in perfect alignment. The two met at full force, T-Rex's teeth finding flesh, Triceratops's horn piercing into the predator's torso. For a second time stopped. Both were locked in place. Then the ground gave way. The mud, soaked and unstable, collapsed beneath them. Both fell. T-Rex roared in agony, its side torn open. Triceratops cried out. Its horn snapped at the base, blood gushing from its neck. They lay in the mud, writhing, breathing broken, and yet still alive. The storm quieted. Raindrops slowed. Steam rose from their bodies. Neither creature moved to attack, not because they couldn't, but because they understood the cost. This battle had no winner, only survivors. And as the sky brightened and the first light pierced through the clouds, both titans slowly, painfully began to separate. T-Rex limped toward the trees, dragging a wounded leg. Triceratops turned toward the open field, battered but upright. They did not look back. And in that moment, something greater than dominance had been decided: respect. This imaginary clash between the king of predators and the titan of herbivores is not just fantasy. Fossil records show evidence of these encounters: healed bite marks, horn wounds, bones shattered in patterns that match no natural accident. These were not one-off events. They were part of the rhythm of life in the Cretaceous, a time when survival meant facing monsters and walking away if you could. Long after the clash, the battlefield would remain silent, but beneath the soil, their story would endure. A shattered horn buried beside a tooth the size of a dagger, rib bones with puncture marks, a healed fracture that told of survival, not just struggle. Millions of years later, paleontologists would uncover these relics. They would study them, debate them, reconstruct the encounter piece by piece, and still they would never fully know. Because the truth of this battle lies not just in bones, but in the moment, the fury, the fear, the resolve. T-Rex and Triceratops were more than fossilized icons. They were real, alive, and locked in a conflict that defined their era. Their legacy, not a single winner, but a reminder that in nature, survival is rarely clean. It's brutal, beautiful, and unforgettable. And the next time two giants meet, we'll be watching. Will you?